Okay, let's begin by, let me ask you a question. How many of you watched those lectures that I sent? Okay, a little over half. I'm just trying to figure out where to pick up. We're supposed to be on the two towers.
Yeah, the King of Golden Halls, where you
Pardon?
King of the Golden Halls, where you ended on the lecture. Like you said, you
King of the Golden Halls, where I ended?
Yeah.
Really? Got that far?
Writer.
Wow. Okay, I wasn't
But you did
expecting.
send us 3 lectures.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be that far. I didn't think it went that far.
I wanted to start.
Yeah. Well,
You start at the beginning.
I'd like to start at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, but
I mean, if you want, like,
we're already
we
going
can
to go even further.
we can extend it by a week. That's all right.
because I was thinking this morning, I could cut Deathly Hallows back to 3 days and Half-Blood Prince to 2. And,
You are the boss.
okay, here's what we'll do. I'm going to do a brief overview of some, well, I say it's going to be brief.
Brief in the most quotation marks you can do.
Some of the stuff from Fellowship of the Ring. Shadow of the Past. I hate when I'm sick. I just absolutely hate when I'm sick.
You know, like the timer for how long you have this.
Nah, it doesn't work. I just ignore it.
Like, here you go.
How many of you have read The Hobbit? Anybody? Oh, quite a few. Okay. How does The Hobbit begin? I don't mean the opening line. What's the first chapter title? An Unexpected Party. What's the first chapter of Lord of the Rings? A Long Expected Party. Tolkien links the two together just right there. Okay? See, I usually start with talking about the foreword of the second edition because it's so important for what Tolkien has to say. But so, the two most important chapters in the Fellowship of the Ring are the second chapter of Book 1 and the second chapter of Book 2. Shadow of the Past, second chapter of Book 1, and Council of Elrond, second chapter of Book 2. Why are they the most important chapters? Context?
They go and establish the rest of the narrative.
He gives us what's called the exposition. All the background information we need. Only problem is it's not really all the background information we need because we don't get all the background information we need until 1977 when his son, who died a week or so ago, published the Silmarillion. That really gives us all the background that we need. Or unless you want to say, after that he publishes the 12-volume History of Middle-earth. Okay? Shadow of the Past. Notice the two important words in that title, because those ideas are going to come up again and again and again and again. Shadow and past. Okay? What is a shadow? Darkness? Is it the absence of light?
No, it's gray.
What is a shadow?
Caused by something standing in front of light.
Okay. A shadow is something that is projected by something else being in front of light, right? You don't get many shadows in here, but you have some. But a nice, bright, sunny day, you stand out in the sunlight, and you've got the sunlight, the source of illumination. You, who are substantial, that is, you're made of something, you have substance, okay? And your shadow on the ground, okay? What's the shadow, though? What is its quote-unquote reality? What is its substance, its essence? It's not you, right? It's an image of you, but it's not the real you. Okay? So, all of that is kind of tied up in Tolkien's title. We could literally spend an entire 90 minutes in a heartbeat on this because it's Platonic. It goes back to Plato, student of Socrates, teacher of Aristotle, and Plato's doctrine of what's called the allegory of the cave, or Platonic ideals and such, which we don't have time to go into. So it's the shadow of the past. So what's the of the past?
The like long conflict over the ring.
Okay, you're thinking literally, but think of that idea of a shadow.
The past is causing the shadow.
The past is the substantial thing, right? That creates the shadow. Okay? Now, what do shadows fall on? Ground,
People.
walls. Okay? That is, they hit things within the context of that chapter's title. What's the shadow of the past? Well, what is that entire chapter about? Bilbo, Gollum. I don't have one on because my fingers are too swollen to wear them. The ring. It's the ring, ultimately. Okay? So, the shadow of the past is causing what for Frodo? Because we think of the past as what? It's past. It's done. It's over with. It has no bearing on us today. Hakuna Matata, which we all know is a lie. The past very much has a bearing on us today. Okay? I mean, New York Times has produced a whole fraudulent, false, lies thing called the 1619 Project, which says the United States was actually founded when? It doesn't mean this literally. Not 1776, 1619. Why? When the first slaves came over. It says that's the real founding of the United States. The reason I say it's lies and fraudulent and all that kind of stuff is because it's lies. It's bad history. Historians of that period have shredded that thing. I mean, even progressive, politically, progressive scholars have said this is bad history. You shouldn't teach this. And it's being adopted. It's being used in over 300 school districts in the United States to teach students this is really about the founding of America. Okay? Why? Because the past does what? It ripples. Like dropping a stone in a calm pond. It ripples on to today. Okay? So what are the ripples? Well, let me go back to my question. How's the past affecting Frodo?
Well, he's frustrated because no one will leave him alone. He misses Bilbo, but he wants peace. Everyone's obsessed with where he's gone, what he might be hiding in his house.
Okay. Who's the everyone? I mean, just think of just that chapter. Where's Bilbo gone, first of all? He's left. He's gone to the mountains
Journey.
to see elves and stuff on a long expected journey. He's probably going to make his way, he essentially suggests, to Rivendell. Because that's where the great elves are, Okay? So, what's he leave Frodo?
The ring.
The
And
ring.
all his stuff.
What's he tell Frodo about the ring? He tells him a couple things, but Frodo already knew it'll make you invisible. When the SBs, wonderful nicknames by the way, Sackville Bagginses, relatives you don't like, when they show up, and he chose Sackville Bagginses so he could use the SBs, like sons of bitch. Okay? Tolkien does that intentionally, so that when they come knocking, or the people hawking religious stuff come knock on your door on a Saturday morning, and you pretend you're not there. Well, you can put on the ring and just disappear. Okay. What else does Bilbo know about the ring?
Belong to Gollum?
Belong to Gollum. And that's it.
Yeah.
Okay? It's useful if you live under the mountains to sneak up on orcs and goblins and fish, essentially. Okay? He knows nothing else. So, when Gandalf finally comes back 17 years later, he's been around a couple of times, but then there's a long pause, and then he comes back, and they start talking one night, and Gandalf stops in the middle of the conversation because it's getting dark. He says, we shouldn't talk about this stuff at night. And the next morning, they're smoking pipes and having beer. They start, and what does Frodo learn about his ring? It's the shadow of the past. What's the past there? Who the ring belonged to?
Sauron.
Sauron. Okay, so what is Sauron in our world?
Devil.
Satan?
Yeah.
That would be the closest equivalent. It's not Hitler. Hitler's nothing. Mao is nothing. Stalin is nothing. Put them all together, they're their little fingernail on Sauron. Okay? So imagine that. The reason I say what is Sauron in our world is because you got to get into Frodo's mind. Where is Sauron in Frodo's mind?
He doesn't. He's far.
What, again, take Satan out of the equation for a moment. What would something else be? Sauron be equivalent to in our world?
Something like
The boogeyman?
Yeah.
Maybe.
maybe
If the boogeyman were real.
maybe something like like war or like hunger or something like that. It's a problem for a lot of people, but it's all the way over there and it's not affecting me and all the stuff I'm doing.
Okay, here's the problem with that analogy. While hunger might not be affecting me right now, or war might not be affecting me, it is affecting people right now.
Yeah.
Could it be like
Well,
killer
Sauron's affecting
aliens?
people right now then as well.
But not that Frodo knows. Sauron is essentially what?
But
Jocelyn?
the difference in all this is that when he tells Frodo that, Frodo feels the gravity of it.
Why?
Because he believes it.
You're exactly right. You're almost there. Why does he believe it though? What is Sauron? Sauron is an old evil that exists for most part only where?
In like
What is in almost every fairy tale? A wicked witch. Evil. But it's evil personified. It's a real person/thing. That's why I said, leave Satan aside for a moment. Because the majority, for example, of Americans no longer believe in Satan. I don't care whether you do or not. Okay? C.S. Lewis said in Screwtape Letters, but he does. he thinks it's important. But leave that aside for a moment. If you assume the reality of a being called Satan, what does the name Satan simply mean? Adversary. The opponent. That's all it literally means. Okay? The adversary. If you accept that a being such as that exists. Okay? But let's take him down a few notches. Because Satan in kind of popular mythology is the opposite of what? God. No. God's up here and everything else is down here. Satan's the opposite in Christian theology of Michael, the chief of the archangels. He's not even the opposite of Christ, because Christ is God. Okay? You can't get him. You can't get him up. So it's Michael who fights Satan, and in Christian theology, it's Michael who throws Satan out of heaven. All right? So we need something kind of more tangible, popular and mythological thought. Hades. That is the character, not the place. In Greek mythology. That kind of works. But Hades doesn't walk around, trying to enslave people. Which is why, a lot of people latch on somebody like a Hitler. again, it's a Hitler that you have to really raise to an oomph level. So take Hitler, take Pol Pot, take Mao, take Stalin, take Genghis Khan, depending upon your politics, take Bush, take Trump, take Obama, take whatever. Wrap them all into one ball so that they encompass and incorporate and cover a huge portion of the world at their greatest power. And imagine that at one point in time, they were real, and everybody knew they were real, but now they're merely what? Legend. An old wives' tale. Okay? Then, have that old wives' tale enter your living room in the form of, you have the ring that belonged to that old wives' tale. You had the ring that made that individual almost undefeatable. Oh, and he's not dead.
And he wants it back.
And he wants it back.
And he knows you have it.
And he probably knows the name Baggins. I'm not Baggins, I'm Franklin. I changed my name. Just right now. Okay? The shadow of the past, that's what Tolkien's getting at. The past is real. It's real for us now. You can't simply turn your back and Hakuna Matata it away. It'll bite you in the butt if you try. So it still has to be dealt with. So, Gandalf explains everything about the ring. He explains about Gollum. And when Frodo finally, it takes him a long time. Frodo's not the brightest bulb in the box. Kind of like, we're going to see, he's kind of like Harry. Okay? Nowhere is Harry near as bright as Hermione. I mean, she's a 150-watt bulb and Frodo's barely 40, or Harry's barely 40. Okay? So, once he finally understands, and he understands who Gollum is and Gollum's whole perspective, his whole role in all this, anybody know what Frodo says? It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance. Because what's he thinking at that point? If Bilbo had killed Gollum then, Gollum never could have left and gone on and told the bad old wives' tale. Gandalf, to page 59. See, I've already taken almost 20 minutes. Pity? Now, one thing you got to understand about Gandalf, and this is because of who J.R.R. Tolkien is as a professor of language. Words mattered to Tolkien. They mattered very much. But it's also, I think, partly a reflection of his friendship with C.S. Lewis. Okay? Because of the kind of person Lewis was. Lewis would get into conversations with people, and somebody would make some offhand kind of flippant remark. And Lewis would drive that remark to the ground. He'd make the person defend their statement. Like, it's a nice day. What do you mean? Almost all of you said you've read The Hobbit. How's The Hobbit begin? Gandalf shows up. And Bilbo says, good day. And he says, what do you mean? Is it a day upon which one is to be good? Or is it a day that is good in and of itself? Or is it, and he gives like 4 opportunities, 4 different, suggestions. And then Bilbo says, good day. And he goes, and now you mean get the hell out of here. Boy, you guys use language differently than, And Bilbo, no, that's not what I meant at all. Yes, it is. It's exactly what you meant. Okay? So, Frodo says, it's a pity Bilbo did not stab that vile creature when he had the chance. Gandalf, pity? Okay, I'm going to take one word and I'm going to take it apart. Pity? It was pity that stayed his hand. Now, what does Frodo mean by pity?
It's a shame he didn't do it.
It's a shame. It's a pity for me that he didn't kill him. Gandalf says it was pity that stopped him. Why? Because Bilbo in The Hobbit looked at Gollum and saw what? Well, let me rephrase that. He looked at Gollum and felt what?
Kinship.
Kinship? How do you know?
Because, I mean, they had a lot of stuff that they enjoyed, like riddles and whatnot.
Bingo! They knew the same riddles, which means there has to be some kind of cultural connection going all the way back. Okay? What else? He looked at Gollum and he is a poor, pitiable, starved thing. And he felt pity. What's pity?
I feel sorry for him.
You feel sorry for him. Does pity mean you can do anything? Can you necessarily alleviate that person's state? Not necessarily. Okay? It was pity that stayed his hand. Pity, and then he introduces another term. Mercy. Not to strike without need. I think I said the other day, 2 weeks ago, whatever that was, Tolkien says in one of his letters that The Lord of the Rings is fundamentally a Catholic and philosophical work. He says, much more so in the revising than in the creating. That is, I didn't mean to bring all this Catholic stuff in. Mary is never mentioned. Jesus is never mentioned. God is never mentioned. Saints are never mentioned. Prayers are never mentioned. There aren't any rites. There isn't any act of communion. None of that. So how the hell can it be Catholic? I mean, if it's Catholic, you got to have Mary somewhere. Nope. Not by name, at least. So how's it Catholic? There is a mindset behind Catholicism. Okay? That's what Tolkien means. Part of that mindset is reflected in the twin ideas of pity and mercy. Okay, so what's he mean by mercy? Pity and mercy, not to strike without need. That's the mercy. What could Bilbo have done there when he escapes from Gollum's lair, so to speak, when he gets out from the goblins' tunnels under the mountain in the Misty Mountains? How does he escape? For those of you who remember.
Puts on
He jumps over him. He's got the ring on. He jumps over him. What does he debate doing? I could stab him. I could come up right behind him and I could slit his throat. If he were not Bilbo, but 007, Gollum would be slit, threat, etc. Okay? But no. He doesn't have to kill him, so he lets him live. Notice, not to strike without need. Why is that mercy? What does mercy mean? Pity, feeling sorry, as Jared said, for somebody else. Okay? What's mercy?
Not giving someone something they deserve.
Okay, that's one understanding of it. Not giving somebody something they deserve.
Like, don't deserve.
Well, something bad.
Yeah.
Okay, something bad, so we start to qualify it. It's when you have somebody under your power to do something and you don't do it. It's not practicing, showing, demonstrating judgment. It's rather than saying, okay, I'm going to use somebody as an example. You stole from me. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to tell the police. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to let it go. That's mercy. Okay? Here's another example of mercy. You're driving down the road, Old Fort Parkway. You're getting ready to get on 24. You've got, $100 cash in your wallet. I never do. Maybe you do. You've got $100 cash in your wallet, 10s and 20s. And you see somebody by the side of the road, homeless, hungry. You can zip on by and say, screw you, right? Or you can zip on guy and go, man, that sucks. Sorry. Or you can stop and give that person $5, $10. You can stop at McDonald's, buy him a meal. That is mercy. How so?
How is it? Because you are judging them.
You're giving them.
Are you judging them if you stop and give them something?
Yes, you're judging their situation and you need this.
There's a difference between that kind of judging and judgment.
Yeah, what kind of judgment is that though? You're benefiting that person as opposed to penalizing. Sorry. So when I talked about the judgment before, or the other kind of mercy, that's when you don't exact the penalty they deserve.
Yeah.
Does Gollum deserve to be killed? Deserve in The Hobbit.
In The Hobbit,
but
no.
wouldn't it be a mercy to kill him?
That depends on whether or not you think killing...
Define mercy then.
Yeah, like, if you think putting someone out of their misery is a mercy, then...
Well, even then, is Gollum full of misery at that point?
He doesn't think he is. I mean, he doesn't want to die.
He doesn't want to die. It's not like he's on life support.
Yeah.
Okay?
And you also have to remember, Bilbo is not, like, throughout the entirety of The Hobbit, Bilbo is just kind of like, I'm here, I'm hoping I'm cool or whatever, but he's not like some warrior going around, beating up people everywhere he goes.
He's not a warrior because we were told at the beginning of the novel there aren't any heroes left. I mean, the narrator makes that clear. The reason Bilbo gets hired to be the burglar is because all the heroes have died or they're off fighting dragons somewhere.
Yeah.
So we get the anti-hero, okay? So, Bilbo could have killed him. Was Gollum going to kill Bilbo? Yes. He was not only going to kill him, he was going to eat him too. So we could go all Minority Report, kill before being killed. Don't let him kill you first, okay? But he doesn't. So, use the mercy image. The person's homeless. They're hungry. You can give them food that will do what? Alleviate that hunger forever? Nope. For a few hours?
Yeah.
Does it solve world hunger? Nope. Does it solve hunger for that person? It does temporarily. That's mercy. Why? Because at that moment in time, that person is under your power. You can change for a few hours their situation. Doesn't mean you can change it permanently. Maybe you can. Maybe you got loads of money. Maybe you can give them a job. Turn their life around. Okay? Don't know. Pity and mercy to strike without need. And he has been well rewarded, Frodo. Be sure that he took so little hurt from the evil, escaped in the end because he began his ownership of the ring himself. That is, he used the ring not for what purpose? Evil. He used it for good. Now, he didn't go, Gollum, I want to help you. I really want to help you. You need to have a meeting with Jesus. You need to come to Mary, Joseph, and Jesus and see if you Hail Marys. It's not what he did.
Hello, my name is Fantasy Jesus.
So, Frodo, I'm sorry. That is, okay, I shouldn't have said what I said. But I'm frightened. And I don't feel any pity for Gollum. Notice, why doesn't he feel any pity for Gollum?
Because he's scared.
Because he told us, because I'm frightened. And when we're frightened, what do we tend to do?
Focus only on ourselves.
Well, we focus on ourselves, and what else do we do? We get in that fighting stance. We protect ourselves. Because I'm afraid, don't tell me something that will make me think differently. I don't. Notice, he doesn't want to pity Gollum. So, Gandalf says, you have not seen him. He's telling him, if you were to see Gollum, you'd feel pity too. No, and I don't want to. I don't. Why doesn't he want to feel pity for Gollum?
Because then he wouldn't want him to be dead or gone.
Keep going. I mean, yeah, entirely right.
He's blaming him.
Okay, he's blaming him. In one sense, hate is a hell of a lot easier than love.
Love is a lot of commitment. Hate is just one simple, straightforward.
Well, and what can you do if you hate somebody or something?
Basically anything.
Cross it out. Get rid of it. That's why, historically, when nations have gone to war, what is one of the things nation A has done to nation B? It demonizes it. It dehumanizes it. Second World War, what did the United States people call the Japanese? Japs. Nips. Okay? What did the United States call the Germans? Jerry's. Yeah, it's a shortened form. It's an abbreviation. It's not really an abbreviation. It doesn't take any less time to say Jerry than it does German.
But it robs them of the majesticness of like their origin.
Vietnam? Gooks. That's not even close to an abbreviation. Like Jap can be an abbreviation of just Japanese. It's a lot shorter. It's easier to say. Okay? Gooks, they're totally dehumanized. Okay? So, I don't want to. I don't understand you. You and the elves, you let him live after all those horrible deeds? What horrible deeds? List them. What horrible deeds has Gollum done?
He admitted to killing his friend.
He killed his friend for the ring, but it's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
And my friend didn't bring me a present, so, Murder!
Didn't he already give him a present?
I don't remember. Murder!
He went to Mordor.
Okay.
Right.
Before then, because that was 600 years later,
Oh.
he used the ring to thieve and steal from his own people.
Didn't he
Listen in on the
spy too?
conversation.
Okay. He killed orcs. So more murder, but they're orcs. And in Tolkien's cosmology, orcs can be killed willy-nilly without any moral stain.
Even though they do have intelligence.
Okay? Intelligence means nothing. I'm going to channel my inner Hillary Clinton here. They are truly irredeemable and deplorable. Orcs, according to Tolkien, cannot be redeemed. They are totally broken, damaged beings. They were originally elves. Thousands of years ago. But they've been so inbred and had experimentation done on them. There's nothing now positive about them. Okay? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. All right? And then he goes to Mordor and spills the beans. Okay? He is as bad as an orc. That's why Frodo says that. I mean, you can use orcs for target practice. And just an enemy. What does the just there mean? Only. What are enemies for?
Defeating or
To kill. That's it. That's all you think of enemies. You're never supposed to think of enemy as maybe that person also loved his wife or children or mother and Tolkien's going to bring that up close and personal later on. Two Towers. Sam is going to see a battle. And he's going to see one of the enemy died right in front of his face. And Sam, in a moment of thought, is going to think, maybe he was lied to also. Maybe he didn't want to be here. Maybe he had someone at home who he loved and loved him. And when Sam does that, what does he immediately do? He humanizes that individual. Makes it a whole lot harder. You've all heard of, some people consider it a myth. It's not really a myth. Christmas Eve, I think it was 1914, 1915. Middle of World War I.
Yeah.
French and Americans and British fighting the Germans. And there's a ceasefire. And on one side of the line dividing them, they start singing Silent Night. And on the other side, the others start singing Silent Night in German. And they realize what's going on. And the two sides get up from behind their defenses and mix. Realize, what the hell are we doing here? I don't hate you. I don't hate you. Why are we shooting each other? And then they go back, and the next morning, he deserves death. That's what an enemy deserves. Which is why, soapbox, in our political system, we've gone totally haywire by referring to our opponents as enemies. Because when you refer to your opponent as an enemy, that means you can kill them. Or you can go nuclear. You can do whatever it takes to stop that individual.
Boy, oh boy, we sure do see a lot of people trying to do that here in the country.
So, what does Gandalf say? No, you're wrong, Frodo. You need to see the inner light. You need to see the spark of divinity in Gollum. Nope. He doesn't go all Quaker on him. He doesn't say, if you could only acknowledge that there's the divine image of God. No. He doesn't bring in his Catholicism. I dare say, hell yes, he deserves death. You're right. Many that live deserve death. Ooh, there's a blanket statement. And some that die deserve life. Many that live deserve death. Notice what he juxtaposes. And some that die deserve. He doesn't say many that die deserve life. But there are some that die who shouldn't die. They deserve to live. Give me an example. Someone who's dead that should have lived. I don't mean a real example, an imaginary example.
A child.
A 5-year-old who gets cancer. In a fair world, that would never happen. Why? Because a parent should never have to bury a child. It should always be the other way around. Usually when the parent is in their 80s or 90s. Not when a 20-year-old, J.K. Rowling, 22-year-old, has to bury her 45-year-old mother because of breast cancer. That, by the way, hangs over all of the Harry Potter novels. It's why they're all about death. She's working it out, man. It's her psychotherapy. Okay? Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. And then he has the coup de grace. Can you give it to them? Come on, Frodo. Let's see your magic spell. Can you bring the dead back to life? We're going to see in the Harry Potter books. Harry sees something, and Sirius says, so-and-so brought back to life, and Dumbledore's going to say with a sigh, alas, there is no spell that can reawaken the dead. Can you give it to them? Notice it's a rhetorical question, because the very next words tell us that Frodo kind of goes, no. Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. There's the term. Because what has Frodo pronounced on Gollum? Judgment. He deserves death. It's almost like Frodo's willing to make himself judge, trial, and jury right there. Judge, prosecutor, and jury. Okay? Notice, though, does Tolkien say, then do not be too eager to deal out death? No, it's in judgment. Tolkien's not pacifist. He fought in World War I. If you read the foreword, what does he tell us? By the end of 1918, assume everybody in here are close friends of yours. And then kill all but one. Take your circle of friends, no matter how big that is. Not these idiotic friends. Real friends. Physical flesh and blood. Kill all but one. And Tolkien says, that's what you need to understand. Because by the end of 1918, all but one of my closest friends were dead. And he kind of says, and that has an effect on you. You don't go on from life unchanged after something like that. So, do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. Yeah, maybe you're called to go to war and you have to go to war and you have to kill people. That's not death in judgment. Judgment is when you're saying, I decree, I rule, you've done wrong, and the only way to pay for that is with your death. For even the very wise cannot see all ends. There's two meanings of that word. What's one of them? Obvious one in this context.
Different ways a person's life may end.
The end, the completion, the finality. In other words, even the very wise don't see what? Let's say about Camille. She's alive now, but we don't see what. Let's assume she lives to 87 and dies. We don't know what life's going to look like between then, now, and then. Right? Does any of us? And maybe you are, but I'm not among the very wise. But he says, even, who does he mean by that, by the way? Among the very wise.
Himself.
Me, Gandalf, Saruman, at this point, Galadriel, Elrond, probably Glorfindel, probably Celeborn, probably a whole bunch of other elves. Okay? Why? Because wisdom tends to come with age. Therefore, the longer you live, notice tends to, not always, read Gollum. He doesn't learn much from what he experiences. Okay? He says, we can't see how people's lives will end. What's the other meaning of ends? Purposes. Okay? The end of this bottle is not this, and it's not this. It's its purpose. Well, what's the purpose of a bottle? It's to hold water. So if I pulled this and were to jam this suddenly, what would happen to the end of that bottle?
Useless.
It'd be useless because it would no longer fulfill its purpose. It wouldn't hold water unless I walked around and held it like this all the time, which would make it difficult to drink out of. Okay? So that's what he means by ends. He means both purpose. Okay, that brings up another question. What's your purpose?
Isn't it like the greatest question of all?
It's one of the chief philosophical questions everybody has to at some point in their life deal with. Now, some of you answered it by, I'm a recording industry major. Like your job is your purpose. Hell no. Your job's what you do to put food on a table. It's not who you are. But often, people will come up, you'll meet them for the first time, and they ask, what do you do? Because what does that really mean? Who are you? It's not what that means. So, even the very wise cannot see all ends. He's saying, I don't see Gollum's final page of the story, and I don't know what Gollum's purpose is yet, but he does say, I have not much hope that Gollum can be cured before he dies, but there is a chance of it. Before he dies, that's the first meaning of ends. But even just look at that. Notice what Gandalf is saying. What does he hope Gollum gets before death?
Redemption.
Bingo. Why do you choose the word redemption? You're right.
Redemption
It is a fully Catholic and philosophical poem.
redeemed of your sin.
So, he uses what word? Cured. So, if you need a cure,
You're sick.
you're sick. you're ill. Tolkien's Catholic. I'm Eastern Orthodox, like Russian Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, etc. Catholics hold to the idea promulgated by St. Augustine of Hippo, 5th century AD, of what's called original sin. What's original sin? It's what Adam and Eve did back in the garden. Okay? And according to Augustine, that then gets passed on, and that's a judicial thing. It's a legalistic failing. You've sinned against God, and therefore God puts a bullseye on everybody. God is angry at us. Therefore, Jesus had to come and shed his blood to do what? To appease this angry God. And he's like, okay, then my son, I'm going to create this actor-director named Mel Gibson. And he's going to make a film that's really going to show how much I hate sin. And my son just going to get flayed alive. You know? Passion of the Christ. Okay? That's the idea of original sin. Begins with Adam and Eve, and then all of us get it by genetics, essentially. Through sex. Okay? Which is why in the Middle Ages, sex for the Catholic Church was bad. Even within marriage. Don't enjoy it. Do it, or we don't go on, but you can't enjoy it. The enjoyment of sex was sinful. The Catholic Church taught in the Middle Ages. I don't think it still does. Okay? In the Eastern branch of Christianity, in the Orthodox Church, they never accepted this idea. They always use the term ancestral sin. Notice the difference. Ancestral means the first ancestors' sin. Okay? And they never equate it with a judicial or legal failing. They always equate it with an introducing of something into the world. Know what that something is? Illness. Sin is an illness. It's a dis-ease. Well, what do you need if you have an illness? You need a cure. What is one of the names in the Gospels given to Christ? The great physician. He's a healer. Okay? One of the great fathers of the early church described the purpose of the church not as a courtroom. Christ isn't the advocate general arguing on behalf of Jerry. I know he's pretty bad. I know he's done, but he loves me, therefore I died for him. And the blot is wiped out. Christ does what? Instead, he takes all the illness on himself. Okay? And people are thereby cured. So Tolkien uses that word cure. Where else do we use that word cure other than in a healing aspect? We use it in one other sense. Meat. You cure ham for what purpose?
Preserve it.
You preserve it. It keeps it good. Okay? It makes it edible in a sense. So, I have not much hope that Gollum can be cured. Notice what his point is. What's he want for Gollum? He wants healing. He wants Gollum to become whole again. Because, we're going to see Gollum, right? And Gollum's what? He ain't healthy. He really ain't healthy. Okay? He wants Gollum to be whole again. Why? Who gives a rat's whether or not Gollum becomes, other than Gandalf, becomes, why?
Well, he's pretty much just like, I feel like the way that it was explained was that the ring has almost overtaken him, and that's why you have Gollum versus Smeagol.
The ring,
he wants the ring
the ring has overtaken him. Yes.
Well, Gandalf has been mentioning that he's going to play a role later.
He's going to mention that in just a second. Yeah, he is. Okay? He's going to say, in fact, he's bound up with the fate of the ring. My heart, notice my heart, not my mind, my heart. My gut instinct tells me, good thing Gollum's not dead yet. He has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before the end. And when that comes, the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many. Jump to the end.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay? Because Bilbo's not the only one that shows Gollum pity. Who else does? We're going to hear Frodo say, now that I do see him, I do pity him. But there's a reason why it takes that long. Frodo, what's his name? Tolkien can't have Frodo say at this point, oh, I get it. He's got to have Frodo experience what Frodo experiences through the first 1.5 volumes, the first 3 books, before he's at the point where he can say, now that I do see him, I do. Why? Because Frodo has to experience what happened to Gollum. He's got to experience the pull of the ring. Tolkien gives us the ending in this chapter. What does Gandalf say about the ring? To any mortal who possesses it, it will possess him. Any mortal who tries to possess the ring will possess. So why didn't it? Why didn't it possess Bilbo?
Because his initial
He used it for good.
his initial using of it, he basically avoided a lot of the same trappings everyone else did of aggression and anger and all that kind of stuff. So
But he's going to say, even if you try to use it for good, even good intentions will only hold out so long.
He gave up the ring.
He gave up the ring, but that doesn't quite answer. That presumes the other.
Is it because the ring chose Frodo?
Could be.
It
What
was
does-
beginning to.
It was beginning to. What does Bilbo not know about the ring? What it is. He doesn't know any of that yet. But now Frodo does. So now Frodo has to think about that. What does Bilbo say to Gandalf after he does decide finally to leave the ring? He feels like what?
A great weight.
Too little butter spread over too much bread. Okay? And Gandalf tells Frodo, the ring was starting to possess Frodo. Okay? But he uses that language. The ring will possess any mortal. Is Gandalf mortal? How do we know? Bridget Castle too. You fool! Because he dies. How do you know he dies? How do you know he dies? Because he comes back. But how do you come back from death?
Well, he came back naked.
Okay, good point.
everyone knows your clone
Good
comes up
point.
with you when you die.
Was he literally naked? Before you answer that,
Sorry, this might be specific, but isn't Gandalf an old Maiar, who are immortal souls?
everybody know what a Maiar is? Comes from singular Maya, plural, Maiar. You have Vala, and you have plural, Valar. What the hell are these? Put that lower G. These are gods, or another term, angelic orders. Tolkien's cosmology, you have Eru Iluvatar, who at the beginning of the Silmarillion creates. And the first thing he creates are what are called the Ainur, singular Ainu, okay, that are these things. But these things only become these things, Maya or Maiar and Valar, when they enter into the world. If they don't enter into the world, if they stay in the presence of Eru Iluvatar, they remain Ainur. Think of them as cherubim and seraphim and thrones and principalities and powers and such. Okay? Gandalf's one of these. He's specifically one of these. I'll give something away. So is Saruman. All 5 wizards, or what are called the Istari, are these angelic beings. I'm going to give something else away. Sauron is also one of these. Saruman is one of these. The Balrog is one of these. So when Gandalf meets a Balrog, he goes, damn, a Balrog. What he's really saying is an equal. An equal. If this guy were just a man, like, give something away, final book, the captain of the Nine, the captain of the Black Riders, rides into Minas Tirith, the capital city of Gondor. And he laughs at Gandalf and says, "Old fool, my hour is come." In other words, it's all mine. Okay? Gandalf's not afraid. Why? Because one reason he's been dead and is alive again. He's like, go ahead, take your best shot, you know. But he's not afraid because that is a man. Was a man. Really powerful. He is Sauron's right-hand man, but totally human. Though now in wraith form. Gandalf? Not totally human. Elrond is part this. Okay? His daughter is also part of this because of genealogy way back in the Silmarillion. So Gandalf tells Frodo, this is your ring. This is who it belongs to. He wants it back. And what does Frodo say? You can have it, you know. No. Frodo says, page 61, I do really wish to destroy it. Notice the agency there. Active voice. What's the subject? I. What's the verb? Do really wish to destroy it. I will do the action. And then almost before he finishes saying it, he catches himself. He goes, wait a second. Or, well, to have it destroyed, total passive voice. You use passive voice when you don't want to take blame for something. Or if a writer doesn't want to assign blame. The SUV mowed down 20 people. Really? Because most SUVs only mow down 20 people when there's a person driving them. If they're just sitting in their parking spot, they don't do anything. It'd be like saying, the AK-47 took out those students. No, because there's usually somebody holding it before the taking out. You have to describe agency. Why does Frodo back up?
He doesn't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to march into Satan's backyard and go here. Throw the ring in the fire.
I was scared before.
Now I'm scared itless, you know. So, why did it come to me? Right? Why was I chosen? Yeah. Lots of people. I was reading today's the 61st anniversary of the death of Buddy Holly and Richie Valens and Big Bopper, Bo Diddley. Okay? One of the people who was supposed to be on that plane, who switched with another guy, anybody know who? He died just a couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure he died just a couple of years ago. Waylon Jennings. He was Buddy Holly's bassist. He was supposed to be on the flight, but he had the flu. So he said, so-and-so, you take my spot, I'll take the bus. And, according to the article I read, Buddy Holly said to Waylon Jennings, hope you freeze. And Waylon Jennings said, hope your plane crashes. And it crippled him for years, mentally. Because that night, they died. Okay?
Oh, that'd be harsh. Smack to a buddy, just playing, and then...
Yeah. I mean, and he was young then, okay? So, why was I chosen? Why am I alive? Why did I leave that flight when all those other people died? Why was my house spared when all the houses around it? I mean, there's a place over off Wilkinson Pike when the tornado of Good Friday hit. One house, every other house around it, destroy this one house. It's like somebody blew on it. That's it. Everything else, and survivor's guilt. But this isn't survivor's. Why was I chosen? What's he really asking? Why me, God? I imagine, I don't know that this is the case, I imagine when George Bush, II, was reading, the thing about the goat to the kindergartners on September 11th, and Andy Card comes up and goes, Mr. President, we're under attack. There's a terrorist attack going on in New York right now. The World Trade Center has been hit. And Bush gets that look in his eyes like a freight train is coming straight at him. I imagine the thought in his mind was, what the hell? Why didn't this happen to Clinton? Why me? Why couldn't this have been 9 months ago? I was going to be the domestic president. I was going to get us out of all these stupid foreign... Because he realized, we got to go to war. Okay? Notice Gandalf's very wise response. Page 61. Such questions cannot be answered. Next.
No answer that.
I don't know. You may be sure, I can give you this answer. It's not for any merit that others do not possess. Merit that is experiences they built up in their lives. Oh, I don't know. Who might he be thinking of besides himself? Who's kind of waiting in the wings? Strider. What's his real name? Aragorn, son of Arathorn. Called Elfstone, Elistar, Dunedain. Descendant of Beren and Luthien. As Elrond is also. Okay. The future king. Yeah, he has some merit. What else? Nor for power. Why? Because Frodo's freaking Peter Dinklage. What's he gonna do against, Chris Hemsworth, Sauron? Ooh, he's gonna kick him in the shins, No offense to Peter Dinklage, he's a fantastic actor. Frodo's nothing. Okay? Size-wise. So, not for power. Wisdom, he's already proven. He's lacking in that, area. But you have been chosen. Interesting word. Because chosen implies what?
Someone selected you.
There's a chooser.
And he was chosen completely.
Yeah. And therefore you have to use what strength and heart and wit you have. So you're a midget. Use that midget strength, okay? Use what heart? What's heart? Courage.
Perseverance.
Because courage, Richard Coeur de Lion, the heart of a lion, Richard the Lion heart. It's cardiac. Also, you're going to say I'm going to do something when we get to the Harry Potter novels. You'll go, okay? What else? Courage, bravery, guts, instinct, and wits. Probably not the greatest there, too. That's just intelligence. But I have so little of any of these things. And he looks at Gandalf and goes, mighty wizard, must be brave, pretty smart. You take the ring. Why does Gandalf jump back?
He didn't expect to get offered the ring.
Okay.
One.
What might be happening there, by the way?
He doesn't want the temptation.
Okay, obviously temptation, but what else might be happening there?
He does not want to touch it.
He doesn't want to touch it. Keep going.
It could be the ring.
But he did earlier. He says, here, Frodo, hand me the ring. And Frodo gives him the ring. He says, you see any marking? No. Throws it in the fire. Frodo, ah! And then he pulls it on the tongs. And he says, no, put your hand out. Don't worry, it's not hot. Trust me. It's been in fire. It's gold. It gets hot. And now there's writing on it, right? Somebody said it. The ring. This could be the ring kind of going, yeah, give me the Gandalf. Take it, Gandalf. You want me, I can give you power. Power unimaginable. Power. Imagine Trump.
Don't give him the ring.
And I'm going, imagine Obama. Imagine Bush. Imagine Clinton. Imagine Bush. Imagine Reagan. I'm not just picking on hellions. Why? Because then you can defeat your enemies. Where have we seen a president not take up a power that we have? And I don't mean use atomic weapons. They've all had, behind every negotiation what? I got more.
We got way too many of these things. We use them all day.
We got more. We can use them. Mutual assured destruction. You fire one at me, you're toast. Okay? Worked. I lived during that period. Worked. So, Gandalf says no. Why? Because I want it. He says, I will have such need. And the way to my heart is through desire to do good. What is Tolkien telling us? If something is inherently evil, can it be used for good?
No.
No. So, and I'm going to let you fill in the blank. Are there things today that we have that are inherently evil that are in common use? I would argue, for example, a gun is not inherently evil. That is, when Smith & Wesson makes a gun, they don't go and weave evil into it. No. Are words inherently evil? No. Is quote-unquote pornography inherently, in and of its essence? No, because sex isn't bad. Unless you do a medieval Catholic Church kind of mentality. Okay? I would argue, yes, there are some things, but I won't tell you what they are. I want you to think of maybe some of those on your own. I'll give you a hint. I would say there are some scientific technologies we shouldn't even be dabbling in. Why? Law of unintended consequences.
Like the hydrogen bombs.
Well,
You don't make a bomb.
the gene editing that they've done in China.
Gene editing, CRISPR.
Cloning?
Yeah, but I mean, that could lead to really good things.
But they don't know.
It could lead to really good things. How many of you have read Jurassic Park? Anybody? A few of you. Because the film's good. And by the way, if you've read Jurassic Park, guess what? All of Michael Crichton stuff, it's all just as good. Because he's a scientist. But he's approaching it from a humanist's perspective. And that perspective is the Ian Malcolm perspective. The problem, John, he says, is you never asked, should we? Jocelyn mentioned the hydrogen bomb. Before the hydrogen bomb, the atomic bomb. What question did J. Richard Oppenheimer not ask until Trinity? Trinity, the first nuclear explosion. Oops.
I may have unleashed something that I
Should we have? Anybody know what he quoted? He quoted from the Bhagavad Gita. I am become, I think it is Shiva, destroyer of worlds. He realized, boom, that genie never goes back in the bottle. Which is why the idea today of trying to do away with nuclear weapons and trying to do away with the technology, it's a pipe dream. Why? Because I can get on this thing or this thing right now. And I can pull up the schematics for a nuclear weapon. You could build one in your backyard. You just need one thing. Or plutonium to make it work. Get that, and you too, my friends, could be a millionaire.
Those are easy to come across, right? You just put it in your backyard.
So, Gandalf says, but you have been chosen, so now what are you going to do? So what's he decide?
Give me some time out.
Why is he going to leave? No, he says, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the Shire.
His friends are in danger.
I don't want these people to die. And what else does he think? If he leaves the Shire, what will happen to the Shire?
It'll be safe.
Keep going. It'll be safe means what?
It'll be protected from.
It'll be protected. Keep going. It won't change. It'll stay the same. That's why in the foreword, Tolkien says the chapter, the scouring of the past, the scouring of the Shire, which Peter Jackson leaves out of the theatrical release. Tolkien says that was foreseen from the outset of the novel. Why? Because Tolkien, who went through World War I, knows you can't go home. Home will not stay the same. You drop that rock in the pond, and now those ripples will affect everything. Okay? So, skip a bunch. 20 minutes we have left.
Skip the entire book and let's move on to the Two Towers.
Council of Elrond. Why do we need the Council of Elrond? So that we can see them in the stupid film arguing and bitching and griping and moaning over the ring, so that we can see, Gimli whip out his axe, I'll break on him. No, that's idiotic. That's trite. That is superficial. That is mere sword and sorcery nonsense. Because that's what Peter Jackson thinks The Lord of the Rings is. He doesn't understand it. How much of the actual novel? This whole thing. Skip all the appendices. This. How much of this is actually devoted to physical descriptions of battles? Hardly any. The Two Towers? What's the big battle in Two Towers? Battle of Helm's Deep. The physical battle itself is like 9 pages. I've got it written down. It's like 9 pages. The chapter is something like 25 pages of the novel. In the film, it's over a third. Why? I was on a panel at Oxford in 2004. And one of the questions we were dealing with is, does Tolkien glorify violence? And we were like, hell no, he doesn't glorify. It's only idiots who glorify violence. Like Peter Jackson. Okay?
It'll put butts in seats in the movie.
Louder?
It'll put butts in seats.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he made it.
So why does Tolkien spend so little time?
Because he's seen it.
Because he's seen it.
Yeah.
It's not important, and he doesn't want to glorify it. Okay? So, Council of the Past. Council of Elrond. What's the purpose of this? I mean, the ultimate purpose is, I'll take the ring. I don't know the way, but I'll take it. Hand up.
To see how everyone's stories connect and come together.
To get the convergence of the stories. They all speak, but before they do, what does Elrond say? You've all been called hither. You've all been called here, but I didn't call you. I didn't send messages off to the Lonely Mountain and say, send me a dwarf or two. I need some dwarf representation. We got to get our demographics right so everybody's represented. It's why we have Arwen Warrior Princess. Peter Jackson said, there aren't enough women. Women are going to see these films too. Largely why? And we know this historically to be true. Because their boyfriends are going to take them.
Well done.
So, if they're going to be there, they need to have something to see that appeals to them. I don't know. I think Orlando Bloom and Viggo Mortensen kind of covered this. Bug-Eye Frodo, not so much. Okay?
No, not so much.
So, they all get called there, but he says, I didn't call you. So they're there to tell their parts of the story. Gimli tells his part, Sauron's emissaries, etc. Legolas is there to tell his part, which is really what? Sorry, we screwed up. Gollum escaped. Okay. Gandalf's there to tell his part. Saruman is a dirty, rotten cheat. Traitor. Okay. Elrond tells his part. I remember when I was a young elf and we fought some. But that's not what he sounds like, is it?
Oh no.
It's not what he looks like. And Frodo's like, whoa, time out here. What do you mean, you remember? He says, well, I was there. I carried the flag. He goes, what? But that was like an age of it. He goes, yeah. What do you get, kid?
What's your
Like,
point?
wow.
So how old is Elrond? Like 3,000 years old. Guess what? Galadriel's older. And she looks younger. She's still hot after all these years, okay?
She uses some really good products.
She is second generation. Her father was one of the first elves awakened. She's really old. Gandalf's even older. But not in his form as Gandalf. Because he came after that battle that Elrond narrates. Okay? So they're all there. Gandalf tells them about, Saruman being traitor and all that kind of stuff. We see Boromir. Anybody remember the description we're given of Boromir when Gandalf tells Frodo to hold up the ring? He holds it up and we're told something about Boromir.
His eyes.
What about them? They glint. Whenever in the novel someone's eyes glint, danger, Will Robinson. This is not a good sign. Okay? This is warning. The glint always means desire. Catholic? Covetousness. I want it. Praise.
He was the only one who proposed to use it.
Even after hearing everything, after they all say the ring cannot be used, it is inherently evil. How can the ring be inherently evil?
It was made by an evil being.
Okay, it was made by an evil being. Does that mean an evil being can't make something good? Look, he made it with the intention of it doing what? What Tolkien says in the fairy story essay about magic. The dominion or the domination of wills and things. It's made for one purpose, to control. To control others. That's never good. Ultimately, that idea is never good. So a parent who's obsessively controlling will almost, do what to his or her child?
Drive them away.
Push away. Yes?
So I know in the book they talk about the 3 rings that the elves have and how they might be rendered useless if the One Ring was destroyed, but what if they destroyed all the other rings? Wouldn't the One Ring be useless?
No. It's a good question. Well, let me think about that.
Maybe it's like the ring is the source of their like power or whatever.
Well, the 3
so
rings
the
weren't.
Saruman gave Elamar the knowledge necessary to forge the rings in the first place, right?
Yes, because Sauron didn't make the other rings.
Right.
The others made the rings first, and then Sauron made the ring and wove its spell, the verse about it. That is an interesting question, though. Now, I don't think it would become useless. It just wouldn't have the control that it has over the other rings, since they would be non-existent. But what it would still have is it can control wills, even if they're not wearing the ring. How do we know? Because Sauron controls people who don't have rings on. For example, I'm going to give away the ending. When Sauron is destroyed, what happens to his forces? How many of you saw the one stupid Star Wars? It's in the middle trilogy, where they destroy the one, it's like a Death Star, but it's not really a Death Star. It's the control satellite.
Oh, for all the
And all the
droids.
clones.
The
Droids.
The
droids.
Yes.
Droid wars. They lose their will. Well, when Sauron is destroyed, what happens to the orcs? Ah! Run away. They all become French, in a moment. I saw a hand.
Okay, so just in theory, so Saruman most likely thinks that he can control the ring because his power is to control other people, right?
Sauron or Saruman?
Saruman, the wizard.
The other white wizard. Okay.
I'm assuming that he would think he can control the ring because his power is the same as the power of the ring, sort of.
No. Yes and no. Yes, he thinks he can take control of the ring.
Right.
Why? He's not mortal.
Well, they're both Maya, so why can't he?
He can. That's the danger.
Oh, okay.
That's the danger. If Saruman gets the ring, he merely replaces Sauron. Let's jump not too far. Let's see. Where did you say we are? You said in the lecture I was somewhere king of the Golden Hall. Okay, so this is fine. Galadriel's choice. The Mirror of Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
She says she'd become a dark lady if she took on the ring.
She's immortal. Immortal doesn't mean you cannot die. Right? Stick a knife for her. She's dead. Chop her head off. She's dead. She's not like, the Green Knight and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight where she would just pick up her head and go, No, she would die. But she's immortal in the sense that being an elf, she goes off to the halls of Mandos. She, waits there a while and then she gets would get reincarnated back into Middle Earth. Okay? So, Saruman thinks he can control the ring, which he could. Gandalf could. That's why Gandalf says, I do not wish to become like the Dark Lord. Because he knows, you give me the ring and I take it, that will happen. He will. Why? Because he will want to use the ring. The more the ring is used, the more power it gains. Okay? I saw a hand. No? Okay. So, Council of Elrond, we get all that, and then we hear Boromir go, but why? Let's use it. When the novel first came out, a lot of early criticism said, oh, we get it. The ring is
The bomb.
the bomb. The ring is the bomb. United States has it. Russia got it. Why? Because we had spies. Okay? Who sold the secrets to the Russians. After the Russians got it, the Chinese got it. Then the English got it. The French got it. Germans, I don't think, have it. Israel has it. Now we have Pakistan has it. India has it. Who knows who else, has it, etc. Tolkien says it's not the bomb. Tolkien says the ring is really one thing. It's the desire for power. Notice it's not power. It's the desire for power. It's the desire to control wills and things. Okay? Gandalf says he doesn't want it. We're going to see a lot of conversation later on where Gandalf's going to talk, for example, with Pippin. And they're going to talk about the ring and some other stuff. And one of the things that's going to come out is, I don't want to go there yet. Let's see, where can I pick up? So, we get to the end of Council of Elrond. Frodo says, I don't know the way, but I'll take the ring. Okay? How do they come up with the title for the first book? Fellowship of the Ring.
They form a fellowship.
They form a fellowship. How many are going to be in that fellowship?
9.
Why 9?
9 rays.
9 walkers to counter the 9 riders. Okay? Who's going to be in it? Real quickly. Who, obviously?
Frodo.
Obviously. Duh, Frodo. Okay, who's next?
Sam.
Sam. Why?
Because he's Frodo's.
He won't go in.
Because he won't leave him alone.
Yeah.
Okay? So Sam and Frodo. Who else?
Gandalf.
Gandalf. Why Gandalf?
Because he's
He knows the way.
Because he doesn't. It's not that he knows the way, because Elrond says this will be your greatest test. Okay? Who next?
Aragorn.
Aragorn. Notice not Strider. Aragorn. Who next? Gimli. Why? We got to get the demographics right,
Dwarf.
He's the son of Gloin.
He's the son of Dwayne.
Who's with Bilbo?
Bilbo, Hobbit, connection. Why else? I mean, I wasn't kidding about the demographics kind of thing.
He's a
He's
dwarf.
there to represent.
He's there to represent the dwarves. And along with their Legolas Why? He's going to represent the elves. What are we doing? All the free peoples.
Yeah.
These are the allies. Mordor is the axis, essentially. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why?
Human.
Yeah, but he represents humans.
He wants to follow the rain. And he must.
He wants to follow the ring. Why else? Where are they?
Oh, because he's there already in
Yeah.
Aragorn.
They're up here in Rivendell. Where's Gondor?
He wants to go to Minnesota.
Got to go home.
We'll just tag him on.
Okay. So he's going to head back home. He's going to go to Minas Tirith to help defend Minas Tirith. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who does Elrond want to send?
2 elves.
Ooh, how about Glorfindel? Right? Glorfindel's pretty cool. We saw him through Frodo's eyes for a moment as a point of white light. And Gandalf says, when Frodo says, what was that I saw? You saw Glorfindel as he exists on the other side. That is, Glorfindel exists kind of in two realms simultaneously. What are the two realms? It's not the other side, Valinor. It's the unseen realm, spiritual world, and this, the physical world. Why did Frodo see him in his unseen?
Oh, because
Because Frodo was almost there. He was becoming a wraith. Okay? But they say, no, why not? What's he going to do? No, Sauron, let me in. Nope. Warriors aren't going to help.
Aaron is for secrecy, not for battle.
Aaron is secrecy. So, Gandalf persuades Merry. Why does Elrond say no to Pippin?
He's
young.
Young and
Young in.
He also wants him to go back to the Shire.
He's flighty.
Well, Elrond said that he was foolish and didn't know anything, but Gandalf was like, nobody does, so.
And Elrond was totally right there. Foolish didn't know anything, but he wants him to go back to the Shire and prepare.
Yeah.
Right? What wouldn't have happened if Pippin had gone back to prepare?
The Shire.
Sharky,
It would have come about.
Saruman. Wouldn't happen. But he goes. What happens? Because he goes. Gandalf says Merry and Pippin's meeting Treebeard was like the beginning of an avalanche. Yeah, but that avalanche began before then. When did that avalanche really begin? Halls of Durin in Moria. And he goes up. Who wouldn't do this? In his shoes. He goes up and there's a really deep well.
He drops it.
Whoa, that's deep. And Gandalf says, fool of a took. Next time, throw yourself in. And what happens almost immediately? And they're like,
So much for secrecy.
well, what happens as a result of that?
So much for sleep.
Gandalf the White. It's that dropping of that pebble that causes the avalanche, the awakening of the Balrog, Gandalf's fight with the Balrog, Gandalf's fall, his climb back up the stair, his defeat of the Balrog, and then his leaving thought and time. And for a time, I was sent back naked. Naked, literally? I think, yes. Naked, literally and metaphysically. He was sent back bodiless. Okay? And then the new body was given him. The white body. Why white? Because
He took over for Sauron.
he becomes, he says, what Saruman was meant to be. Okay? Question.
Was that because like when Frodo goes up to the top of like I want to go above the big forest? There's like 2 points of
That's where we'll,
power.
that's good. That's where we'll,
Is that
that's still
just
Fellowship of
like-
the Ring. Yeah. When Frodo sits on Ammon and he has the ring on after Boromir's tried to take the ring, I know, we're a couple minutes over. He's got the ring on and he perceives Sauron's eye, and his eyes go bing, 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 because he's triangulating. And Frodo hears two voices. Yea, verily I come. And the other one is, take off the ring, damn it. And he uses the word, the other voice. Fool! There's only one person throughout the entire novel who uses the word fool.
And he uses it a lot.
It's Gandalf. Okay? All right. We will pick up. I don't know where
I wouldn't have to use it so much if I wasn't surrounded by so many fools.
we will pick up with, King of the Golden Hall. And try and finish. 2 towers.
The sheet passed before.
If you didn't sign the sheet, make sure you do.